And for anyone who doesn't know what we do, actually Kirsten and I are marketers. And we both run separate companies, but we do a lot of stuff together, and we work predominantly with small businesses under $5 million to help them get their name out and get found both online and in the real world. So there's my plug on that one. Tonight we're going to have two quick presentations. I'm giving one, and Daniel Botha from Sun Life is going to give another one. Mine is relatively quick, but it kind of gives a high level as to why we were having a presentation about buying or selling a business. And with that said, I will get right into it. If you have questions, by all means, ask. I'm not going to pretend to be the smartest guy in the room on this stuff, but Daniel will be able to answer a lot of questions that you may have as well. So with that said, I'm going to go into my presentation. So first thing is, when I look at kind of what's coming up around the corner here in the next few years, there is a massive problem. And I don't know if anyone can see that. That says a for sale on that boat. So I don't know who wants to buy that, but that's a great deal, I think. So there's a problem that's coming up around the corner. Or if you go on the other side of the coin, there's actually a huge opportunity coming up around the corner here in the market when it comes to buying and selling a business. And so this is some information that came from a report that TD Waterhouse did about a year ago, or just shy of a year ago, that talks about the percentage of business owners who plan to retire or exit by 2015. So 65% of all business owners in Canada, small business owners, are at retirement phase right now and getting set to retire. Meanwhile, most of the business owners that are set to retire, the interesting stats, and I've got a whole bunch of stats, I am very much a stats guy, 26% of these people have no idea what they're going to do with their business or who they're going to sell it to or anything like that. So there's one opportunity right there. The other one is, when you take a look at it, is proper planning when it comes to a business and transitioning it is of utmost importance to keep your business going. Interestingly enough here, same report from TD Waterhouse, only 10% of the small business owners in Canada have a formalized written succession plan. 90% have no succession plan whatsoever or formalized succession plan written down. And you know, the number one reason for that is trying to finance a successor. That's a huge issue for these guys. And the vast majority of business owners literally kind of put their head in the sand and just try to avoid this problem without finding financing for a successor. And there's lots of opportunities out there. In fact, I'll talk to that in a couple of seconds here. So here's the plans for small business owners. Believe it or not, small business owners, 23% of them, this comes from PricewaterhouseCoopers, 23% of small business owners plan to close their businesses down. So pretty interesting, almost a quarter of them plan to shut it down. 27% are completely unsure as to what they're going to do. And I can tell you what those 27% are doing. They're waiting for death to take care of it for them, and they're going to pass it off to their kids or their spouse to figure out what it is, or same kind of people are going to bury their heads in the sand and just pretend it's not a problem. So what you do see, though, is at least 18% are thinking about transferring this to a family member at some point in time. And that's a whole issue in its own. If anyone's ever had to live through family businesses, they would absolutely understand what I'm talking about on this one. If you had a good, smooth transition, good on you. But I've seen really bad transitions. Now, this other one, though, good that the 20% of these guys are thinking of selling their businesses. Looks good, but in a second, I'll explain why that's not so good, actually. And there is an issue behind it. So if you take a look at this, the majority, unfortunately, that's kind of, you can't read it that well, but the majority of business owners have, or minority of business owners have a succession plan, which means literally 50% of businesses, they don't know what they're going to do or they're going to shut it down. So think about it. There's a huge amount of people retiring in the next 5 years, and literally 50% of them are going to shut it down or have no idea what they're going to do with it. That's a huge impact on the Canadian economy. And Daniel will get in that in a sec here with some numbers on North America. But this is a huge concern, and I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to this quite yet. It's going to creep up on us very quickly here. So when I was talking about that 20% of people looking at selling their business, or the business owners looking at selling their business, the interesting stat on that is only 30% of businesses that go up for sale ever get sold, which means 70% of businesses that go up for sale do not get sold. So that whole 20% that's out there, literally 14% of the total of all businesses won't get sold. So 50% of people are not, don't know what they're going to do with their business, and on top of it, are just kind of avoiding dealing with it. Then 14% on that. So almost 65% of businesses, small businesses in Canada, are going to be impacted here in the next few years. So that's a huge impact on the economy and also on small business as it is. So if we take a look at this, 65% of all small business owners are set to retire. Then what we've got is 90% don't have a formalized business plan. 70% of small businesses don't sell when they go up for sale. So this means literally a third of all small businesses in Canada could shut down by 2015 or in around that time frame. So that's a huge amount of businesses. So if you're a business owner and you're set to retire, I'm probably depressing the hell out of you right now, which is a bad thing. Now, if you're looking for a business, this is where you should be happy and smiling, because there's huge opportunities out there. So if we look at this, as a business owner right now, first thing that you should do, and in life in general, is plan for what you're trying to do and where you're trying to get to. Kirsten and I often interview business authors, world-renowned business authors online. And we interviewed a guy who actually used to live here in Calgary, Greg Fairbrothers, who is a associate professor at Tons or something out on the east coast of US. And his mantra is always have an exit strategy. So what happens is, if you own a business right now and you do not have an exit strategy in place, you should seriously, when you walk away, start thinking about your exit strategy, no matter what age you are, obviously. But you should be starting to think about how I'm going to plan to get rid of my business or sell my business or transition my business to other people. The other side of this one, though, is I look at the opportunity. As a person who wants to take over a business, the time is perfect right now. Reason being is because all these businesses, if you look at demographics plotted out, people that are approximately that retirement age, let's say 60 to 70 years old, that's a huge portion of the population. There is not a lot of people coming up behind that being able to take over these businesses. So that's kind of the big, huge problem that's going to happen out here. So if you're looking at buying a business or taking over a business, there is a great opportunity that you would be in the driver's seat if you're trying to negotiate and try to take over a business. And so one of the things that we do, we've got fundingbusiness.ca. Some people have found us through our website. What we do is we try to find financing for businesses. We can also help if you're trying to buy a business. And the way I use it, I use the approach of, if you pick 10 businesses that you want to go after as a target, 6 to 7 of those guys are going to retire. 3 to 4 of those people have no idea what they're going to do with their business. So all you got to do is get 10 letters together. So I'm giving my secret sauce away here. Get 10 letters together, send them out to guys, ask them if they want to sell their business, or pick up the phone and see if they want to sell their business. And chances are that you're going to find 2, 3, 4 people out of every 10 that you send out that are going to be in a position where they're going to want to sell their business. And then you can start the negotiations from there. One thing that I am going to talk about here that we're going to be putting up in the next month here is you can go to pitch.fundingbusiness.ca. And this is something Kirsten and I have been working on. It is very much in a beta phase right now. But what we're doing is we're allowing people to register online. They can load up a presentation or record a video with their camera on their computer. What you can do is create a profile, and then what you do is you record a 30-second video. So what we're doing is we're giving people 30-second elevator pitches to talk about their business. Now this is if they want to sell their business. If someone's looking to buy a business, they can put their information up on there. If someone wants an investment, they can put their information up there. Or if someone's looking for an investor, they can put their business up there. As I say though, this is very much in beta. We're toying around with it. As you can see, Kirsten's picture is all over this thing, so obviously it is beta. Luckily, he's much better looking than I am, and his picture's up there. But we're looking for beta testers if anyone wants to go out there. It's free. This is free to use. So it's if anyone's out there that wants to do this, just talk to us and we'll help you out. So some of our upcoming presentations. So we do these monthly. It's the second Wednesday in every month. This is the first one that we focused on small business and small business owners selling and buying a business. But what we're doing is over the next few months, at least up until, I think my mic went dead here, guys. I may have to yell. So over the next few months, we're going to have a topic each month on the second Wednesday of every month down here in the basement. The main thing is next one is Chris Moser from Tingle Merritt, which is a law firm. He's a tax lawyer. He's going to be here on Wednesday, March 14th. I think I saw Chris in here. I know he's going on a cruise, so hopefully I haven't scheduled him on a day when he's got a cruise. But he's going to go through 5 tax tips and traps when you're selling your business. And Chris is a tax lawyer extraordinaire. So a lot of the information that he's going to pull out of this is going to be extremely useful for everyone here. So the other ones we're going to do is we're going to talk about HR. When you're transitioning companies, there is that employee element that you really have to consider and focus on as well. We're going to talk about financing. We're going to look at government programs that could assist you as well. And then last but not least is if you are transitioning your company, it's one thing to take the money that you get from your company and put it back into your company to grow. But if you're leaving your company and there's an exit strategy in place and you have a whole bunch of money, you don't have a company to put it into anymore. What do you do with that money? So that's always a good problem to have, actually, I guess. But that's some of the stuff that we're going to be going into in the next few months coming up here. So with that said, that was my quick presentation. And hello, Daniel. You may have to yell, unfortunately. I'm going to have Daniel Botha come up here in a sec. Daniel, as you can tell, has actually got some really good stuff behind his name there. He's an MBA. He's a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture in Honors. What's CSC stand for? Canadian Securities. I'm really bad about that. So just as a high level on Daniel, Daniel is a financial advisor with Sun Life for the last 10 years. He's focused on incorporated businesses and professionals, helping them protect and build their wealth. He is from South Africa, and someone suckered him into moving to Saskatchewan 14 years ago. Obviously, someone told him that was where he should be, but he clued in after 2 years, I think, and moved to Calgary in 2000. He is married. His wife is a physician here in Calgary. He's got 2 kids. One followed in his shoes to become a financial advisor. The other one is a hunter, and it sounds like he goes over to Africa a lot with hunters, doesn't he, or something like that?
Frequently goes.
Quite frequently. In South Africa, Daniel worked as an agricultural economist, working mostly with viability studies, capital project development, and strategic process in public companies. He said if he grew up in Canada, just as a comparison, he would have been working in the oil sands, looking for, working on viability studies on the oil sands and working through the whole complete process with companies. And he said that basically what he did in South Africa was with oil except with bananas. So there you go. So he worked with bananas instead of oil. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Daniel. And just bear with me for a sec as I pull up his presentation. Flip the thing. We're good? Okay. There you go. Daniel, take it over.
Right, so you think my voice will do it?
I hope your voice will do it. Let's see if we can get this thing working again.
My voice doesn't carry very well, so I just want to make sure that everybody hears.
See if that'll work.
Okay, let's try this. Chris, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to present in front of you today. A lot of you I already know, and as you know me, I'm not trying to tell you. It's more a process of communication to make sure that we have a good subject to talk about. I've been experienced in this since I was 22 years old. I'm an entrepreneur myself and always being involved in entrepreneurial businesses. To kind of link on to what Chris already said, just to start off, if you think about it, that 3 out of 4 businesses are going to change hands starting within 5 to 10 years from now. So we have a real new thing happening here in the sense of a lot of baby boomers do want to get out of the business. They need to find a way to either get a buyer. We know that the baby boomers know how to build. They're very profitable. And I've spoken to some of the people here just now and some of the buyers, and you can hear that there's some stuff happening there. Problem is, the baby boomers hasn't learned how to transition, how to move over and move this business into a next phase. They're so busy with day-to-day activities, and there is a true lack to plan far ahead. So what we're afraid of is what you will see is an involuntary sale with a lack of a change of different lifestyle, a lack of safeguarding wealth. What I find a lot of the times, they're failing to protect against death, disability, insolvency. So you find the business just die on the person there. I think we should not underestimate, and Chris has mentioned that as well, the impact of small business, what it has on the world economy. In Northern America alone, it contributes about 50% of the GDP and employs about 75% of all jobs. The key missing ingredient here is communication. When we think about real estate, a realtor will always tell you its location. In the sense of a small business moving over, we find that the business owners do not talk to their employees. They do not talk to the sons and daughters that's in the business or to the key employees that's helping running that business. Now, an owner basically has three choices. The first choice, and that's the choice we would like to see happen more often, is to find a buyer in the open market. The second one is then where there's family members involved, there's key employees involved, where it transitions, where it's then sold to somebody very close to him. There in itself, I see some problems in the field. I've seen it many times in Calgary as well, where the parent will try to gift that business to his children, and that has its own problems by itself. And the last one is winding down, selling the assets. Now that's the thing, and that's the crisis that we see here. If the business owners are not able to sell these businesses, you're going to lose a lot of the expertise, the embedded knowledge that goes with that business. And that's why I think Chris also finds this as an important topic, because we want to see that businesses move over, getting buyers to able to carry on the business. Now, from a buyer's perspective, buyers have their own reasons why they buy. They may be interested in buying just the assets. It may be that they have a business already and they're just interested in getting some of the production capacity to move on. Or they may find that there's some complementary or synergies in buying into an existing business. By either they may be very strong on the marketing side, they lack in production capacity, and by buying that specific business they find they have a bigger market share and it will elevate the business to a next level. Another one I find is debt. A lot of companies, profit-rich companies, high cash flow, may be looking for a company that's got some debt. So don't think if you're a business owner and you don't have high profits that you will not find a buyer. That buyer may be just looking to buy the debt from you. And then the other one, new entrants into the market. Just young people wanting to become entrepreneurs, looking at existing businesses may also be one of the buyers. So what I've done is to set out about 10 criteria, standard criteria that buyers normally look at when, okay, this is dead now. Normally look at when they want to buy a business. All right, they just want to hear, can everybody hear me? Okay, good. So the first thing normally, and it's, in the financial services industry, this is actually a given. It's very simple. When I sit in front of a client, they immediately want to know what is the kind of return that I can get on this investment. So a buyer as well, he wants to be aware of the risks that's involved in that business, how risky it is. If he buys into that, will he be able to survive in the... Is it going again? Okay. All right. The risk and reward is always a very important factor for the buyer. So be aware that you have to be able to demonstrate that properly to a buyer. The second one, client perception if the owner is gone. Question that a buyer obviously will ask, what if I move in there tomorrow, the owner is gone, will my clients still be willing to buy from this business? So, a matter of fact, if the owner is moving so close to that business, and we find that especially in production kind of businesses, where an entrepreneur has really spent his whole life building that business, he's very proud of it, And it's very difficult for him to actually move away and get somebody else to run that business. Now, Steve Jobs, I think that explains it pretty well here. The critical knowledge of empowering key people. We have seen the whole process with the iPhone, iPad, and Jobs passing away recently, and the companies, the share didn't even show a difference there. So very important that the business owner is able to transfer that critical knowledge and empower the people that works there. Branding of the business, the question to ask here, why are franchises so successful? And you see a lot of standardization there. You see the brand name, you see it on a national level, regional level, international level. You see standardized products, so it's easy to identify, and people all over the world know when they go to a McDonald's they immediately know what kind of quality they can expect there. So the personal branding, the question that the buyer will ask is, this brand, how well is it known? How well is it known in the public, in the area that I'm going to operate? Is it an acceptable brand name, and do people trust it? The next one is goodwill. And I've spoken to Terry just now, and he's paid a price for goodwill. Normally, buyers are not prepared to pay for goodwill in the sense that it's intangible. You're not sure what the value is, so you have to kind of show to a buyer what it's embedded in, and that the knowledge just is not all in your head, that it's in procedure manuals, that it's available to employees. Employees use that information, and new employees that comes into the company can use that manuals to get trained. Right, the sixth one there is the future strategic growth and profitability. Very important aspect. To what extent do the owner spend time on the future strategic development of that business? 5-year plans, 10-year plans, looking at future market share. A buyer immediately will want to see whether that market is big enough for him to expand. If he wants to expand, what kind of steps he need to take to be able to grow that business in the future. So if there's nothing there, it's just that more difficult for a buyer to decide whether it's worth his while looking at the business. So buyers pay for earnings and they buy the assets. And that's kind of obvious, very obvious, especially in production-oriented businesses. You look at the assets, you evaluate, do your due diligence, determine whether you're prepared to pay that kind of price for the assets. And then the earnings, you have to show that earnings. I find a lot of the time small business people think they can just take all their income by dividends or management fees, not showing any salary. By the end of the day, the buyer would want to, he won't want to see some of that. He wants to know, because by the end of the day, he's going to have to make a living out of that. And if it's not there, he will say, okay, you know what, it's just so much more difficult now to buy this business because it doesn't look as if I'll be able to make a proper living out of it. So the due diligence on that level, and I've seen that again, poor bookkeeping, financial statements that's not properly set up, the notes in the financial statements are not there, taxes sometimes are not paid appropriately, and then the earnings is not shown in there. Right. Then financing of the sale, banker support. If a business owner is in good communication with his banker, the banker is aware of the cash flows, seen the strategic analysis, and the banker would be so much more willing to even help the business owner to find a buyer. Also, to help the buyer to find financing. So it's just, I think, a very good idea to get in close communication with your financiers, to work very closely with them. Right, then the 10th one, the last one there is for the business to run successful without the owner. If you imagine yourself that buying a business, the owner is more on the Caribbean on his yacht than in his business himself, more likely that you'll find a buyer, because it's a kind of image that the buyer would like to have of that business. you can see the business owner is detached from the business, is having a nice lifestyle. I think that would also help to make it easier to buy that business. Right, then exit strategies. What I find here, it's not a one-day operation. It's a continuous process. And there's actually a little book that I've read a couple of years ago. It's done by Dean's Every Family's Business. And he addresses 12 specific questions a business owner has to ask his key employees and people in the business, his family members, on a regular basis, not on an annual or once a year, but like frequently. What if this business would sell today? What if we have a buyer coming up front here and he wants to buy the business, this price is right? What are going to happen to you? What are going to happen to the key employees, to the family members in the business? Are they prepared to accept that? And what is the steps that you're going to take when that happens? So I think the whole process of communication is where this is going to start. And I think tonight we have the question to ask is, who are we going to use to do this kind of communication process? Because what I find is that business owners, they don't know how to and they don't do it. So you need some kind of intervention there. You need to get people in there to actually help them with the whole process. So I'm thinking business coaches, business consultants. I'm getting involved in that to a certain extent. So yeah, it's possible to do this. Anything that we put an effort in is possible to reach. And I think with what Chris and Kirsten are doing here, we are creating a forum for this kind of process to happen. Because if we've looked at the statistics, we've seen what's happening there, and if we just leave it to let be, it will just go that way. But we can change it as people here. So everybody in the room actually can participate in this whole process, and we can make a good effort in making a success out of it. Thank you. This is what I wanted to say, and I've spoken to some people before we started here.